Yo guys, what's up? It is Gimpzor. I've been promising this guide for a long time and I'm finally gonna do it. I've been really busy and stuff. This right here, we're gonna do the Inna's Heal Monk. This is gonna be your basic heal monk, and depending on gear and certain specific setups, you can heal anywhere from whatever Greater Rift 60 all the way up to, if you have the group that can do it, you can heal all the way up to into the 120s in season 10. So let's go over a quick rundown of the gear that you're going to need here. You're going to need Leoric's Crown. Everybody pretty much knows what this does. Increases the effect of any gem socket into this helmet by a set amount between 75 and 100%. Higher or closer to 100% you get on this, the better. Simply because you're going to be putting a cooldown gem in here, so 100%, that's great. Here, your Lefebvre's Soliloquy. This is basically your Cyclone Strike reduces your damage taken by a set amount between 40 and 50%. So not only is this damage mitigation, but at the same time, this is a piece that you want to focus getting health globes on. There's several different pieces that you want to get health globes on, and I'll go over that as we go through this guide here. So shoulders here, like I said, Lefebvre's, this is one of the pieces you want cooled or health globes on. Your ideal rolls, I like having Dex Vite, reduce cooldown, and reduces all resource costs. You can change this up, but the main thing to keep an eye out for, Dex Vite, cooldown, able to roll health globe secondary, and a high secondary on the Cyclone Strike reduces your damage. As for amulets, I'm running a Rondell's Locket right now. I haven't gone too hard this season, but pretty much anything will work here as long as it has cooldown, attack speed ideally, and this is another piece where you can get health globe pickup as a secondary. I like this amulet simply because not only does it roll with health globes statically right off the bat, but it also rolls with golden health pickup by a set amount of, I think, between 4 and 6 yards. Um, Ideally, what you want to be running here is a Hellfire Amulet, and the reason for that is with your passives here, the way they're set up, you want to be running Beacon of Ytar, Resolve, Unity, Near-Death Experience, and a fifth passive that's great, but I'm not running it right now because I don't have a Hellfire Amulet, is Seize the Initiative. So getting a Hellfire Amulet that rolls with any of these 5 passives is great. That way you can have all 5 of these. Seize the Initiative is great because healing is based off of your being in Epiphany, and the faster your attack speed is in Epiphany, the more damage the more healing you're doing. Another thing that's great here, and a lot of people don't know about this, is Unity. Unity, the way it reads, you would think this would only benefit you, and since you're a support class and you're healing, you're like, well, why would I want to increase my damage? But this affects your party as well. So each of your damaging classes, which is typically going to be your Witch Doctor, and then your RG Killer, which this season is going to be a Impale DH or a Hydra Wizard, it's going to increase their damage by 20%. So this is great to have. So other than that, we'll come back in here in a little bit and we'll go over the skills and stuff, but let's keep going over the gear. I just wanted to get the amulet thing out of the way real quick so you knew. Chest piece here. This is another piece that can roll health globes. Ideal rolls on this, Dex, Vite. Other than that, health globes on the secondary. A lot of people like Dex, Vite, all res. That way you can have health globes on the secondary, and then the other secondary be golden health pickup radius. Golden health pickup radius is great, so whenever the barbarian's not there, if you can move a little bit, you can pick up health globes, which your witch doctor will love you for, because anytime you're picking up health globes, you're increasing their damage and healing them. Gloves, basically Dex, Vite, attack speed, cooldown are what I go for here. A resistance is nice on the secondary, and I'm pretty sure gloves can roll pickup radius as well. Pickup radius isn't one of the things you want to be purely focusing on, but it is great to have this. The higher you're pushing, it's the small things here and there that do make a huge difference. Bracers, spirit guards, you can swap out between strong arms in your cube or spirit guards. You wear basically, your better pair, and then your crappier piece, you just cube it. So spirit guards, same thing here. Dex, Vite, all res. The secondary, I have golden health pickup radius. As far as Dex, Vite, all res, I have life regen just because it helps a little bit. Um, so also what spirit guards do are your spirit generators reduce your damage taken by a set amount between 30 and 40% for 3 seconds. So that means when you're running around or when you're attacking, whenever you do that, you'll see down here it's proccing spirit guards. So when you attack, you're going to get some damage mitigation there. All right, next we will have your Oculus ring. This is mandatory. Same thing, the static or the stats here. You're going to kind of see a pattern. Attack speed, cooldown, maybe some life percent, vitality, but cooldown is super important, and so is attack speed. So that's kind of what you want to focus on. The rings are also another piece you can get health globes on. So remember, cooldown, attack speed if you can, but health globes are going to be very important. Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. This, like I said, another piece that you can get health globes on. This one is usually a pain in the ass to find ancient and with health globes, but when you do, it's pretty nice. So it comes static with four stats. So it's attack speed, cooldown, all reduces all resource costs, and crit chance. As a heal monk, you don't need crit chance, so you will roll that off for your socket. So you want attack speed, cooldown, reduces resource costs. Under your pants here, Inna's Dex Vite all res, and then on the secondary, like I said, the golden health pickup radius is great. Now then, the last piece on your gear that can roll health globes is your boots. And what you're looking for are illusory boots. These are found by doing Act 1 caches or bounties. I can't remember how many different items can drop from Act 1 bounties, but these do have a chance to drop from the cache, and that's the only place you can find them. And illusory boots are great because of the secondary. You may move unhindered through enemies. Since you are running a heal monk and you don't have dashing strike, basically the only movement you have is if you're in Epiphany. When you click on a mob, you'll teleport to it. But a lot of times you could get stuck in there. If you didn't have illusory boots, and since you're cycloning things all the time and pulling them around, and you're in the middle, you would get stuck. So that's where these boots come in handy. You may move unhindered through all enemies. Rolls on these, it's just Dex, Vite, all res, and then of course you want the secondary to have health globes, because the higher your health globes, the better, and we'll get into that here in a second. Once you find them, Little Rogue, Slander are the best weapons of choice. So the way Little Rogue Slander works is every time you spend primary resource, you gain 6% increased attack speed, damage, and armor for 5 seconds. This stacks up to 5 times. So basically, whenever you use your Cyclone Strike here, you'll see that I'm getting stacks down here. And then anytime you'd use your Mantra, it will get a stack. So this is increasing your attack speed, which is helping your healing. It's increasing your armor, which increases your survivability, which is great because you don't want to die in the middle of a fight, because if you die and you're not able to heal, more than likely your DPS are going to go down. The rolls you want on these, one weapon, you want to make sure it has cooldown, and you want to make sure, as you see here, it has a chance to inflict bleed. The reason for this is the Witch Doctor in your group is running Pain Enhancer Gem. Let's see if I have one in here. Here we go. So, as you'll see here, critical hits cause the enemy to bleed for a set amount, blah, 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 weapon damage is physical. But the second part of this, once you get it to 25, is gain Blood Frenzy, granting you 3% increased attack speed for each enemy bleeding within 20 yards. So the cool thing about the bleed that you put on your weapon, when you cause a target to bleed, the game gets tricked and you proc the Witch Doctor's Pain Enhancer. So the Witch Doctor has a radius on their Cloud of Bats, which I think is 15 yards. And when you're running your Heal Monk, you're running Crippling Wave Tsunami, which is a 17-yard radius. So you're hitting enemies outside of his radius, so you're giving him more and more stacks on his Pain Enhancer. So that is why you want that. So like I said, on one of your Little Rogue and Slander, you want to focus on cooldown, chance to inflict bleed. The other one, ideal rolls are attack speed cooldown. I don't have that, but As long as you have cooldown, that's pretty nice. The ideal rolls are going to be, Dex, Fight, attack speed, cooldown on this weapon. In order to do that, though, it can get expensive because you're going to have to roll damage off to get those stats usually, and rolling the damage off of a weapon is pretty tough to get the rolls that you want. But let's go ahead and go into your skills here. As I was talking about a second ago, Crippling Wave Tsunami. So if you read here, every third hit also freezes enemies within 17 yards for 1 second, as well as slowing their movement by 30% and attack speed by 20% for 3 seconds. So you're providing damage mitigation, and the reason you're also running this, and other than because of the 17-yard radius, you're running Ice Blink, if I can find it, which is one of your legendary gems here, which your cold skills now apply to chill effects, and your chill effects are now slow enemy movement by an additional 15%. You want to keep this gem at 25, and also the secondary here, enemies you chill have a 10% increased chance to be critically hit. So you're running this, and since you're running the cold crippling wave, you are increasing your party's damage, because you're increasing their chance to critically hit the enemy. All right, next we have Mantra of Salvation here, and then you'll be running Agility as the rune. Mantra of Salvation, while it's active, you and nearby enemies gain an additional 20%. Where we at? Where we at? Resistance to all elements for 3 seconds. You usually don't want to be activating this unless you're in a really sketchy situation. Say you have a bunch of molten blown up around you or stuff like that, or say a bunch of arcane beams. So you very rarely want to be using this unless you're really good with managing your spirit. Really try not to activate that unless you actually absolutely have to, or you're going to drain yourself of spirit pretty quick. And then agility here, Mantra of Salvation, also increases dodge chance by 35%. So a little bit of damage mitigation there. Blinding Flash, Crippling Light. So create a flash of light that blinds all enemies within 20 yards for 3 seconds. Elite enemies recover faster but suffer 30% chance to miss with attacks. So you got some more damage mitigation here. And then Crippling Light, enemies that are blinded deal 25% reduced damage for 5 seconds after the blind wears off. So more damage mitigation here for you and your party members. Next you have Epiphany, Soothing Mist. Have an Epiphany, increasing your spirit regeneration per second by 20, and enabling your melee attacks to instantly dash to your target up for 15 seconds. That's what I was talking about earlier. Whenever this is active, whenever you click an enemy, it will dash to that enemy. So that's a great way, since you don't have Dashing Strike, to be able to move and keep up with your party when they're ready to move. And Soothing Mist here, imbue yourself with water, causing your abilities that heal yourself and allies within 30 yards. I'm sorry, causing your abilities to heal yourself and allies within 30 yards for 16,093 life. Heal amount is increased by 4% of your health globe healing bonus. This is one of the reasons you want to be getting health globe bonus on all those pieces that I mentioned earlier, which are shoulder, chest, boots, both rings, and your amulet. Next up, we have Cyclone Strike here. So pull up to 16 enemies within 25 or 24 yards towards you, followed by a furious blast of energy that deals a set amount of weapon damage. That's negligible. That's not going to make any difference. So basically, you are using this simply to pull enemies to you and keep them clustered up. That way, the Witch Doctor can do their damage. Use their cloud of bats to deal a lot of area damage. The rune you're going to run here is Soothing Breeze. So Cyclone Strike heals you and all allies within 24 yards for 31,036 life. This is another part here. Heal amount is increased by 17% of your health globe healing bonus. So the higher your health globe healing bonus, the more this ability is going to heal. As you get used to playing the spec, you'll realize how much you can spam. But you've got to be careful, because using Cyclone Strike and activating your mantra, like I said earlier, can really drain your spirit and make it tough. So your main form of healing is going to be keeping up your little rogue slanderer stacks, because the primary healing is coming from your epiphany here and with your auto attacks, because a lot of times here you have your flying dragon in the cube, and when it procs, you'll be going up to over 5 attacks per second. So that's your main source of healing. Going on here, we have Inner Sanctuary, which this creates a runic circle of protection on the ground for 6 seconds that reduces all damage taken by 55% for all allies inside. There's a couple different runes you can run here. I'm running Temple of Protection right now, This works as a substitute for ignore pain from the barbarian. When you get up to higher, greater rifts and the barbarian needs to go out scouting further away, there are times that ignore pain is going to fall off simply because he's going to be gone way too long to get back and give it to you. So what this does is provides allies inside Inner Sanctuary are also immune to control impairing effects. So you can't be feared, can't be stunned, you can't be jailed, etc., etc. The other thing you can run here is where is it? Is Safe Haven. Allies inside your Inner Sanctuary are healed for 35,779 every health every second. Heal amount is increased by 7% of your life per second. So if you're killing stuff pretty quick and your barbarian doesn't have to be gone for very long, this is a nice substitute that you can run here. We already went over here, so now we're down to the passives. So Beacon of Yitar, this is going to reduce all your cooldowns by 20%. Resolve damage you deal reduces enemy damage by 20%. Unity, this was what we went over a minute ago, so for since you're going to have 4 people in your group, this is going to increase your damage dealer's damage by 20%. Near-death experience here, so basically this is your cheat death. So if you receive fatal damage, it'll instant proc, give you some damage mitigation, and then this can occur every 60 seconds. As I was talking about earlier with the Hellfire Amulet, the other great ability is Seize the Initiative, because remember what I said, the faster you're attacking, the more you're healing. Other than that, we got what's in the cube here. You want a Band of the Root Chambers. This is really great and helps you with your spirit and managing it. So your spirit generators generate 50% more spirit. That's going to be your crippling wave here. As I said earlier, the armor, you just substitute either between strong arm bracers or spirit guards. Whichever one is your worst pair, you cube. So I didn't have very good spirit guards, so I slapped them in the cube. I'm sorry, strong arm bracers, so I put those in the cube. And I'm wearing spirit guards because they were better. Other than that, you have a flying dragon, and simply all this does, chance to double your attack speed when attacking. Like I mentioned a minute ago, this is great for healing. The faster you're attacking, the more you're healing. As far as gems go, you're going to be running all diamonds in all of your gear. The helmet is going to provide cooldown, and in your armor, it's going to provide all resistance. In your weapons, you can put life per hit in both, which is great. And then, other than that, the gems you want to run, your legendary gems, you're going to have an esoteric alteration. That's just damage mitigation. So at max rank here, gain 60% non-physical damage reduction. And then while below 50% life, your resistance to cold, fire, lightning, poison, arcane are increased by 75%. We already went over the ice blink here. You want to keep this at 25. This is going to be apply a chill effect to your enemies. And enemies that are chilled have a 10% to be critically hit. That's for your DPS. So it provides 10% basically more critical hit chance for them. And last but not least, Gem of Efficacious Toxin. Poison all enemies hit for 3,250 weapon damage over 10 seconds. That damage you're not worried about. You're worried about the other part of the pass or the secondary here, which is all enemies you poison take 10% increased damage from all sources and deal 10% less damage. So you're increasing your DPS's damage to these monsters, and these monsters are also dealing less damage to you. Now then, basically the only thing we have left to go over here is kind of the playstyle, and this, is something I've mentioned in my other healing videos before. It all becomes a synergy that you need to, get with your group that you run with, or it's just, if you're in a pug group, something you kind of got to get used to over time running with people. So basically, all your job is to do, stay in Epiphany as much as you can, and then you're going to get somewhere. Ideally, you want to go find a place where you can get 2 elites together. Once you're somewhere set up where you can get 2 elites together, you're going to drop your Inner Sanctuary. You're going to periodically be using your Cyclone Strike here. This is going to be pulling enemies in. And also, in turn, that's going to be proccing your Little Rogue Slanderer stacks. And you want to keep those at 5 as often as you can. Other than that, it'll be keeping your Epiphany up, Blinding Flash, like we mentioned earlier. And then, keep your Inner Sanctuary down. You do not want that to drop. If that drops, that can cause all kinds of problems. So you want to focus on keeping your Little Rogue Slander stacks up, keep your Inner Sanctuary up, in which I'm at about 60 some percent cooldown reduction, so I'm right at without having to have stacks of Little Rogue Slander or without my Obsidian Ring proccing here. I can almost keep this up 100%. So on cooldown reduction, you want to focus on. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm almost at 70. 70% is the percentage at which you can keep Epiphany. I'm sorry, Inner Sanctuary up with no downtime. What helps you before you get to that mark here is your Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. Um, so if you look at the secondary here, reduce all remaining cooldowns of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack. Unfortunately, we only have one resource spending effect that can hit enemies, and that's your Cyclone Strike. So, but while you're in the middle of a group of enemies and you're using Cyclone Strike, that has a chance to reduce the cooldown. But at the same time, you're going to have your cooldowns going on your Epiphany and your Blinding Flash. So hopefully it picks the one that you're needing most at the time. Other than that, you're just staying there. You're keeping your stacks up, keeping your attack speed up, keeping Sank down, keeping Epiphany up to keep yourself alive, and then Blinding Flash for the damage mitigation. When it is time to move, you want to be in your Epiphany because, like I said earlier, when you're in Epiphany, any mob, like say this artisan here was an enemy, if I clicked on that enemy, it would dash me to that enemy. Um, Other than that, it's just forming synergy with your group, knowing when to stay, when to move. The general concept is when you're running speeds, you want to try to get to a location where you have two elites and a fair amount of trash, and you like to go to junctions where the barbarian can pull from several different ways. Typically a T-junction, so you can pull from left, right, and back from behind you. Because the more places you have to funnel enemies, the more enemies you can get to the group. The more enemies, the more damage your Witch Doctor is going to do because of area damage. Um, Other than that, I'm trying to think of anything that I might need to go over. My favorite gem to run, or I'm sorry, potion to run with this setup is the Bottomless Potion of Amplification. This increases healing done from all sources by a set amount between 20 and 25% for 5 seconds. Um, Other than that, I mean, this is pretty much it. And like I said, this is the Innas, so you'll be running 4-piece Innas. And then, as you can see here, the other pieces you need, but all this information will be in the build guide on Diablo fans as well. So until next time, guys, feel free to hit like. This is on YouTube. Subscribe, helps me out. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the comments below. I will answer to as fast as I can and to the best of my ability. And actually, one other thing I'm remembered here: try to get your attacks per second. A good threshold to meet is over 2.10. Like I said, since a lot of your healing comes from Epiphany and your attack speed, so the faster you're attacking, the more you're healing. So your thresholds here that what you want to strive for: 70% cooldown reduction and 2.10 attacks per second. Um, Health glow bonus. If you're healing speeds, anything 150,000 or higher is fine up into the 90s. But as you start progressing into the Greater Rift 100s and 105, 110, depending on how far you go, but if you're pushing higher than that, I'm assuming you already know what you're doing, but you want to be closer to 200,000 globes or higher. Um, but other than that, guys, that's about all I got for you. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm always here to help. And post them down in the comments section below. I hope you like this video. Feel free to like, subscribe, and until next time, peace.